Today marks the 6-month anniversary of us moving to Madeira. About 2 years since we first visited Madeira together. And we thought it was a good time to talk about what we consider to kind of the essential Madeira debate when it comes to where do you want to settle. And frankly, we hear this a lot on the forums, and the other expats are always, oh, well, what's the perfect place to live? Frankly, there is no perfect place to live. It depends on your needs, what you like, and whether you have a dog who has certain needs. Never mind. But I think it comes down to, at least for us, and it may be different for someone else, but for us it's city versus country. And we've just bought a house that we plan to rent out for Airbnb in Canhas, which is the country in the center. It's over Ponta do Sol, but it's about as rural as you can be. And at the same time, we have an apartment in Funchal, in Estrada Monumental, which is the main tourist district of Funchal. And we feel like we have a really good perspective of this. Now, we will show you the house more in detail at a later date, but in the meantime, we wanted to kind of collect our thoughts in terms of city versus country living in Madeira, basically Funchal versus the rest of the island, and what will you think are the pros and cons of each.
Here in Canhas, where we are about 30 to 35 minutes outside of Funchal, it takes us 12 minutes to get to the waterfront by car. It takes us about the same amount of time to walk up the hill and into the town of Canhas. Down below us, if we were driving to the ocean, we would go to Ponta do Sol, or a little further to Madeira de Mar. But up above, if we walk up above, we go to Canhas, and there is a bakery that has pastel de nata, which Rob has every morning. He loves it. And you can have, it's like a snack bar, cafeteria, bakery. Also, right next door to it, there is a massage business, which I haven't tried yet, but it looks to be very good. There are actually 2 grocery stores. This is all within 15, maybe 20 minutes maximum walking. A hardware store. Two hardware stores, a gardening store, a flower shop. There is a health center, like if you were sick, you could go to a little health center up there. Several restaurants.
Pharmacia.
A pharmacia. So it's a legitimate little town. Also there, I don't know, the post office is down on the way to Ponta do Sol. It's about halfway. So it's like maybe 8 minutes drive to the post office, but there is a post box up in Canhas that you can walk to. So there's a gas station. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a gas station, and it's not just a gas station, it's like a super gas station that has all kinds of stuff in it. It's a little grocery store, convenience store. So in terms of anything that you would really need or want for your daily living, that's all that they have, all that here in Canhas. There also are fun things to do. There are lavada walks here, so if you're really into nature, there is plenty to do in the country. Again, like I said, you can go down to the sea. One thing that seems like a lot of fun to me, probably not to Rob with his fear of heights, but we frequently have parasailers sailing over the house. So close by here is a parasailing business, and you can go parasailing. And of course you can do other things in the country too that are country things to do. So that's things to do here. And I guess I did get a little ahead with shopping, didn't I? I'm sorry.
No. Well, I mean, when we're talking about things to do, there is no getting around it. Wherever you are on the island, you need to be in Funchal. You have to plan to be in Funchal on a regular basis, whether that's once a week, once a month, twice a week, 3 times a week, or something like that, because so much is only available in Funchal. Funchal is where the hospitals are. Funchal is where the shopping centers are.
Malls.
Funchal is where the big stores like Decathlon, Homa, Comfortarama.
Decathlon is like an REI, and Homa is kind of like a smaller IKEA.
Conforama is the furniture store with couches and whatever else you want, plus a few appliances. But yeah, Wharton for electronics,
Radio Shack,
Best Buy. Frankly, just walking around the streets of Funchal, you come across things that you need. Patty found her specialized shoe store. She was able to get her shoes repaired twice. These are things that are not so easy to find outside of Funchal. So much of, let's say, structured life takes place in
sports. Rob goes to the women's basketball games and the soccer games. There are 2 soccer teams, 2 soccer stadiums, right? So
right.
Sports. And then if you want
government offices,
and also the arts, there are frequently concerts and things to go to.
Museums, and nightclubs, and frankly, a kind of a walking around kind of restaurant district. You're not going to find that anywhere else, really, to the extent that you have in Funchal, and that's a really important consideration. You have to kind of build into the fact that, okay, if I'm living in the country, I need to go to Funchal at some point, and how far do I want to be able to have to drive, and how frequently do I have to drive?
Yeah, and so one thing I decided, if we were to move to this location, I think it is livable because it's only about 30 minutes to get into Funchal. And one thing that I think is important to consider if you're an expat moving to Madeira is that 30 minutes driving in Madeira is much different than 30 minutes in the Midwest, or probably just about anywhere in the United States. It is more stressful. The roads are narrow, winding, hills up and down, a lot of tunnels. It just is more taxing on your nervous system to drive here. It's just a fact of life. I wouldn't want to live, say, an hour away or an hour and a half away unless I was only going to come in maybe once a week. And we like to go into the city more frequently, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times a week. We've only been living in this house for about a week, but that has been what we like to do. We like to go into the city and do things.
What is it about? Funchal is not a very big city. It's 140,000 people, but it does feel bigger than that. And what do you like about the city?
Well, I like a lot of things, but my favorite is the Lido pool area, which is right near our house. There are other swimming areas, but this is the one that I have gone to most frequently. There are aerobics there, and I love to go to the water aerobics, and I love the fact that there are many other people living there that I like, both expats and Portuguese. We live in a building that has mostly Portuguese. I haven't met any expats in this building. There may be some, but when I go down to the little dog area, I've met wonderful Portuguese neighbors, and I get to have coffee with them on a regular basis. One of them is helping me to learn Portuguese. And then we have expat friends who meet me at the pool at Lido a couple times a week to go to aerobics. So to me, that's fantastic. It's just the social aspect of, and that's the case for me in any city. I like to have that social element of getting to see people on a dime's notice,
Not so easy when you do live a half hour away or 15 minutes away or anything like that.
Yeah.
You want to be within walking distance. And I will say that our social life really increased rapidly once we moved to Funchal itself. It's not only the fact that we're able to go to events, but we run into people.
Yeah.
We we meet people for the first time. And Madeira is one of those places where you're meeting people all the time. You're meeting people you're meeting people you don't know that become good friends.
Yeah. So I also love the book club. It's only once a month, but that is in Funchal. It meets at the Loja de Cha, which is the tea store, and it's a fantastic little area in Old Town.
What you don't like about the city, and what you get out here, of course, is peace and quiet.
Yeah, it is a little noisy where we live. So, for instance, especially on the weekends, we keep our windows closed. One of the nice things that you can do in Portugal, people leave their windows open without the screens and you get the fresh air. And we do that all day long during the city when we're in the city. But at night, it gets a little too loud with motorcycles and revelers. We're in a tourist area, so there might be party buses or things like that are pretty loud, right?
Mm-hmm.
In here, we get some roosters occasionally, the barking dog here and there, but we have probably one of the loudest barking dogs, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Happy.
Yeah.
The other downside, I have to say, now that we've lived here in rural areas versus in a tourist area, is that the cost of living
That's a big one.
It's a big one. We find that things are much cheaper the farther we are in a tourist area. Let's put it that way. It's going to be more expensive because yes,
In Funchal, we're in a tourist
area. Exactly.
And here, we're not. In Canhas, it's not a tourist area. Ribeira Brava is a little more expensive.
There are towns around the island that are more touristy. This is one of the less touristy
It's
places.
a residential area.
Yeah, I mean, this is a place where you can go and have a bottle of beer for about €1 up at the local tavern. Look,
We walked up to the little cafeteria bakery shop that I told you about, and again, it's like a 10 to 15 minute walk. And the first time we stopped for refreshment, Rob had a bottle of beer and I had a water, and it was €180.
cost of living period is going to be lower than if you are in a tourist area, and frankly, if you're in a tourist area near the ocean. The closer to the ocean, the more expensive it gets.
I would say that if we were going to spend the money that we spent on this property in Funchal, it would have been at least half the size, and the sea view we would have never gotten the sea view for the price. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing is you have to consider is what are your health care needs? If you don't feel like you have either a condition or you need to see doctors and specialists on a regular basis, and you need to have them available, then rural may work for you. The problem is, if you're older like we are, you may wind up having to talk to specialists, whether I just had my cataracts done. That had to be done in Madeira. That had to be done in the Hospital Particular de Madeira. That had to be done in Funchal. Patty has her own issues that she deals with. She's not going to get that kind of care in a rural area, whether we're in Canhas or anywhere else. Bottom line, you're going to wind up in Funchal, and even more so when they open up a new hospital, which we hear is really going to turn Funchal into a kind of a healthcare destination of sorts. Yeah, think about your healthcare.
Yeah, I will say one thing about that though that I was just thinking of is, so one thing is you want to be comfortable driving, obviously, if you live in the country. However, I will say that the taxis are inexpensive, and I think that the access is pretty good here out in the country as well, because we do have who I know had a lot of physical therapy appointments that she had to go to a couple times a week. And she lived in is it Ponte Delgado? It's over on the north,
Yeah.
the
Ponte
north
Delgado,
side.
right?
Yeah, Ponte Delgado, which is pretty far from Funchal, but she took a taxi. So, you know, there are some workarounds, but it's something to consider. Shopping. Let's talk about shopping.
Shopping. The three shopping centers are in Madeira. The major stores we touched on the kind of the specialized stores or the stores that have the stuff, so to speak. You're going to find them in Funchal, and you're only going to find them in Funchal for the most part. And particularly if you've got a new home, particularly if you're settling into a new life in Madeira, you're going to be going to many of them a lot to get stuff, more or less. And frankly, you know, sometimes you just want to, you'll wander around the streets and you'll find things that absolutely suit your needs, and you're not going to find that. For example, Patty needed a particular kind of paints, and while she was at our tea club, I wandered into an art store, book club. I wandered into a art store and found exactly the paints that she was looking for.
For about $10.
For about $10.
Which is a good price.
We were walking to a restaurant one day, and we passed by a shoe store that had exactly what Patty needed. That is what happens when you live in a city like Funchal, where the selection is, you know,
it's great.
Great.
Can I talk about shopping for
Yeah.
a minute? So neither of us, well, actually Rob is a bit more of a shopper than I am. He loves secondhand thrifting and he loves to look for deals. I am not that big of a shopper, but I do enjoy in-person shopping, retail shopping, and you know, so much more than looking for things online. I don't care for Amazon shopping, but I fell into it in the United States quite a bit because it was convenient, free shipping, and then another thing is it was like a catch-22 situation where the brick and mortar retailers were going under because of Amazon and the other online retailers. Being in Portugal in general, but being on an island, we have a very robust and healthy brick and mortar retail situation here, and I am always delighted. And although Funchal is particularly great with the three malls that Rob talked about, walking around, you're always seeing little boutiques, you're always seeing adorable clothing stores, shoe stores, just so much different jewelry stores. Of course there are tourist stores as well, but I'm just talking like things that you would want to buy. Oh, bookstores. There are a lot of bookstores, art stores, many stores
fruit
all
stands.
over. Fruit stands all over the place, little markets to buy food, hardware stores. That is a delightful aspect of living here, but I will say it's not just Funchal, like we were just talking up here in Canhas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So many stores in this little town. So if you can imagine, so I grew up in a town called Tawas City, Michigan, and there's East Tawas, Michigan as well. And if you think about those little towns in Michigan and what kind of retail it might have had in 1973, that's kind of what you experience in small towns here on Madeira. It's like there still is vibrant retail. It's not like the city, the small towns, but there are really good places to shop in the small towns. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even clothing, even shoe stores. Yeah, down in Madeira Brava for sure.
Restaurants. It's a bit of a Madeira situation. The constant complaints are that, you know, it's very difficult to find much variety in Madeira. But the bottom line is, okay, you're in the mood for sushi. Okay, you're in the mood for Indian food. Okay, you're in the mood for a hamburger, or you're in the mood for a really good stone-fired pizza or something like that. you're gonna chances are you're gonna have to go to Funchal. One of our favorite places in Funchal is Mad Cuban, which is basically Cuban food. It's wonderful.
It's great.
They
They have a great vegetarian option.
If you want a little bit more variety on your plate, or you want to eat more variety, then yeah, Funchal. But guess what? It's going to be more expensive.
Yeah, it's much more expensive. There are more restaurants in Funchal, but some of our favorite restaurants are actually in rural areas. I'll go get Happy.